Welcome back to the Daily Report. On set this evening is the Secretary General of Jubilee Party, the Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, and we equally have the Honorable Member of Parliament of the Dadaab constituency, that is Farah Maalim, as we get to look at what is playing out in the country. The hashtag, as always, the Daily Report. I'll be looking at some of your comments as you continue with the broadcast. The numbers to call will be running down on your screen, as well as 22047 being the SMS short code. We look at what you have to say. Remember, the conversation around the state of the nation. We must continue to have this conversation. And perhaps the biggest questions that Kenyans would be asking, and I think I will direct this question to the gentleman that I have on set, is whether we have lost our sovereignty or whether we're losing our sovereignty, and at an alarming rate for that matter. Honorable Farah Maalim.
Which matter in particular?
Well, whether we're losing our sovereignty.
Sovereignty basically is the fact that you are a member of the global community of nations and you have a nation.
Right.
We're an independent country with a system in place and with the leadership in place, and with the military, with the police, with a civil service structure and a population. So basically we're a country. I don't see what you mean by how we lose our sovereignty.
All right. Yeah. Well, that is the question of very many Kenyans who are worried, because then again, we have seen nations that have lost it literally because of the
you become a failed
leadership.
State.
Yes.
No, if you become a failed state,
and that largely would be about the leadership.
You still don't lose your sovereignty.
Right.
I mean, sovereignty is even Somalia is a sovereign state.
As it stands.
With all its problems, yes, but it's a failed state. So if you're a colony, of course, you're not sovereign. If you're a dominion, there's also, it's questionable. Right
so
now,
in this case, then, of course, to speak to the people of Kenya, that the sovereignty stands, just that we should be worried that then again, we are going to be a failed state.
To be very honest to you, Madam Alela, I don't understand exactly what is so fundamentally different from the way we've been transacting business 4 years back, or even 3 years back, and now for us to basically, cry foul and make all the kind of the hullabaloo that's there, and I don't see that, to be honest to you, because if you ask me a specific thing, because of this and this and this, I mean, there's insecurity. There is, I mean, half the country is in the hands of some rebels, for example, let's say, or we have a movement that is trying to change the authority in the government. Those are the kind of things that you would worry about, and that leads into a failed state, which is still sovereign, by the way. You can be a failed state, but you're still a sovereign, as long as you have a flag, you're a member of the United Nations, and you have a name. You have a population, and you have a land expanse. You're definitely a sovereign state. So sovereignty, to the extent which being micromanaged by other countries, I mean, that is something, a phenomenon all the third world countries grapple with, whereby multinationals, the big donor, the banks like IMF and World Bank and the rest of them, and in some cases, if you go and take loans from certain country, for example, the Sri Lankans took very massive but very expensive loans from the Chinese, and some of their own infrastructures, which are state national infrastructures, were put into the hands of the Chinese as a collateral in the first place. For example, a port, an airport, and those kind of things. Then you worry about whether basically you are a colony right now, and or not a sovereign state. But I don't think that has happened in our case right now.
Not just yet. I believe you've seen the latest report, of course, from IMF. I'll be looking at that. But briefly coming back to you, when we're talking about sovereignty, when we're talking about, a state that is supposed to be intact, do you suppose that as a country, based on what it is that Honorable Farah Maalim says, there's not much that has changed in terms of how we're transacting business, and therefore there's no cause for alarm?
I don't know. It's a very wide question. I was listening to Farah. Farah was my speaker during the 10th Parliament. And 10th Parliament will always be remembered for having given us the constitution that we have today. And he played some useful role that time. In our constitution, there is also, other than sovereignty, there is the provision for human dignity.
Yeah.
And human dignity is a term that has a very wide definition. And I'm looking at Farah and wondering whether he has ever reconciled it. So I didn't know that I was going to have this session with him. I would have been happier to know a little bit in advance.
So that you
learn
to counter.
So that you make proper decisions. But I look at him and I wanted him to first of all tell me whether he has reconciled himself with the call for killing 5,000 Gen Zs.
The statements that he made. He's going to respond to that.
I am here.
Let me just say this, because
yes.
When you wake up and you are an elected leader and you say that if you are the one in power, you'd kill 5,000 people who are supposed to be, you are supposed to be speaking on behalf on the floor of Parliament. And when you are saying that, we have very many of them who are being shot by sharpshooters. I went to the mortuary and saw them dead, killed from within Parliament, which is supposed to represent the people. Thereafter we get other bodies in mortuaries or in quarries. We have missing bodies in the hundreds that cannot be accounted for to date. I then wonder whether he has reconciled himself with that position for him to have the audacity to come and talk about even issues of sovereignty.
In his defense, he has spoken to this matter before.
I haven't heard him myself, I know.
Well, if you haven't heard me, what you wanted to hear is what you are parroting now, and all those others are parroting for only one reason. For only the reason that I have taken certain fundamental positions on certain things that are current in our politics right now. And it's primarily because of that. Everybody who is fighting me right now on that issue and who are moving around with falsehood and lies. Because this thing was taken to the National Coalition. They went through it and they found it edited. You get my point? I was out there and I said, look, what I said is that I will use every power at my disposal to make sure that we do not have a failed state. You getting that?
Right.
If you watch my speech properly, and then you can see the few bits and pieces that I edited, even the words that I use, the Somali words that I use, which is Somali words, by the way, it's not English, not Swahili, does not say expressly that I'm going to kill Gen Zs. You get my point? Right. But I said, can I just finish? I said,
we'll come to you,
I said I am going to make sure that this country does not become a failed state. The rule of law must be upheld, but I never called for Gen Zs to be killed.
And when you look at that event, Honorable Farah Maalim,
but because I voted for the finance bill, and I would vote for it if you bring it back 10 times now. You get my point? I still think that was one of the best bills this country has had for a very long time. And I think we have problems in the country that needs to be dealt with. We need to pay. When you are in a deep hole, or a shit hole for that matter economically, you must do an element of heavy lifting for you to be able to pull yourself with your bootstraps out of that. Nations do that. The loans were not taken in this period. I mean, some were taken, but those were taken to retire the other debilitating, very expensive loans that were taken from the Chinese, from the Eurobond and the rest of it. And they were not taken. Can I just finish?
Yeah, but you are digressing.
Make it
no, I'm saying
talk about the issues that the issue I've raised. It's very important.
The issue I'm trying to tell you is that I did not say. You see, when somebody is out there and telling you, I did not say. The people who edited actually were not Kenyans. Were Somalis who basically, because of my opinion on other areas, and the main one was because of the secessionists in Somalia and the rest of it.
And we intend to advance this conversation based on what it is that you say.
I say it exactly, yes.
But then I'm asking this question, even as Honorable Jeremiah Kioni comes in. Looking at the Gen Z scenario, looking at what it is that has played out in the country up until date, where we're not very clear of who is the deputy president, in as much as, of course, the courts would pronounce themselves, or perhaps senior counsel, that is Paul Mwite, would pronounce himself to say that as it stands. It's still Rigathi Gachagua. And then we expect to see Kindiki Kithure appear to address some concerns as to the Interior Ministry, which he does not appear, as if to confirm that again he is the Deputy President. Don't you think it would be misplaced for us to argue that there's nothing much that is different, from what it is that has been?
Look, this is not...
Make it quick. So that
but you are getting...
All right, we come to you and then you're going to respond to
Yes,
that.
you can go back to him.
Okay.
Farah, Maalim, it does not matter in what language you use in this country. If I speak in Kikuyu, I am certain that the Somalis will hear what I say. When you say that you are going to kill 5,000 Gen Zs in this country, don't tell me that the over 5 million Gen Zs we have are so daft that we do not have even Somalis within them who can be able to interpret that statement correctly. And then don't tell me that people will just pick you and single you out as the one who was the most diplomatic or the most patriotic person to be given that kind of attack. And I find it even still insulting to say that I'm parroting. I am not parroting.
Honorable Kioni. Honorable Jeremiah Kioni.
Let me just finish.
Yes, Honorable Jeremiah Kioni.
You were even thrown out of Wiper Party for the same allegation.
I was not thrown out.
And you have not even faced the disciplinary committee.
I have not thrown out. I do not have.
I want to say this.
But
Mheshimiwa, you see, we cannot continue in seat so that race may abound.
Can I say this?
Kioni does not want to go into a substantive debate on the areas.
Which is very important.
I cannot go into a substantive debate.
This is called ad hominem. You know, when somebody does not have such...
It is in my business to protect you, Honorable Farah Maalim.
And he's scared of that.
You need not to worry.
You need not to worry. It is in my business to ensure that any debate
the Kenyans get answers.
Engaging with, I am engaging in a debate with people who have respect for Kenyans. Have you taken a legal approach to this, Honorable Kioni? You all understand the rules of the game and what is required of a Kenyan who feels I would want Farah Maalim to live with that which he said. It is not me to take him to court. He said it and he's a mature person. I am taking offense that you are putting me on the same table with a person who wants
to point is home, Honorable Farah Maalim.
5,000 Gen Zs, and there is no way we can escape with it.
I think you're my friend.
I am your friend, and I came here because I invited you.
Yes,
and
for purposes of the people of Kenya.
Who is this that I'm coming to debate with? If you had told me as Farah, I would have respectively told you, and until I'm able to reconcile myself with his intention of killing 5,000 Gen Z, I am unable to debate with him.
He's pronounced himself on that.
And I don't believe.
We understand.
I do
why
not
don't you believe? Ask him why doesn't he believe?
I don't.
Well, he says he hears.
I would be asking.
Gentlemen, for purposes.
I would be asking you.
You know, he prefers those lies because right now, you see, what people, when there's something called ad hominem, he's a lawyer.
Right.
When you don't have substance on an area that you are going to debate and you're scared of somebody who's going to
debate. Honorable
He's still on the same line.
You're scared of somebody who's going to debate.
You see, gentlemen,
he now wants to insult me.
I did not say.
While he cannot be able to
say it for me, you can go ahead and
carry on.
I
cannot be able to sit with a person who can be...
Look, it is well. Honorable Farah Maalim, let's proceed with the conversation.
Let me tell you.
Let us proceed with the conversation.
Kioni is my old friend.
Yes.
He understands my position.
Right.
He understands my principles. He understands my history very well. And he knows that he cannot debate with me on substantive issues.
Let us address the agenda because then we're here to discuss the country.
That's why he has to digress into something that was set up.
I will disagree to that because I have hosted you alongside Honorable Kioni before, Honorable Mara.
I'm trying to talk to you about this thing right
Proceed.
now. Can I explain to you?
Proceed.
You see, Kenyans largely have known me for the longest as a progressive opposition leader. For the longest.
Right.
Right from those early days. There was a presumption in their minds that Farah would again oppose vociferously the areas that were there, like the finance bill and the rest of it. And the debate around the finance bill had nothing to do with the finance bill. It's all sections of the society that basically felt that they had a certain entitlement and they were now showing a revolt. You can get that in any club or in any group of people who are together. I mean, people vote you, for example, and they feel that you've abandoned them. They will rise up against you. Right. So there was certain political undercurrents that were there at the time. But on the face value of it, the things that were there, I said time and again, I did not say I'm going to call for the killing of Gen Zs. And I said it. Now, oh, you said you can go to hell. Because if you think by repeating, if 100 million people say that I said it and I did not say, up in my conscience, I'm very clear. You get my point?
Which is pretty much okay.
Absolutely.
And let us be kind with the words that we use.
Listen, for them, I've not been chased out of Wiper. I would not be in parliament if I was chased out of Wiper.
Right.
I resigned myself as a deputy leader of Wiper. You understand my point?
Yes.
And already people have talked to me in Wiper and say, look, we were just doing this for the political optics. We want you, we don't want you to leave. And they're watching. So right now they're watching me in here. And I added value to Wiper. Wiper did not add any value to me.
Right.
You get my point?
Do you? What do you mean? Wiper did not. You are elected under the ticket.
I was elected. I had the opportunity to be anywhere. I started off as ODM in this country.
You have been part of Wiper Party for quite a long time.
Well, just the last 2 elections.
All right.
And if you look at the ethnic and everything else, and people go into something, for example, I mean, they are friends of mine. Shakil Shabir and Junaid cannot run on any party other than ODM or an independent party and still come through there. I have only 30 Kamba voters in my constituency. If that's what you think is an area that is there.
The DAB.
Yes. I added value to Wiper. I brought them members of parliament. When I first came in, hang on a minute. When I first came in, I brought them a member of parliament. There are a lot of them. And we've been very close friends with Kalonzo for the longest. And I left a big party that was willing to appoint me, even as a deputy party leader. Go to Raila Odinga and talk to him today. There's such a powerful respect between us. Right. But anyway, for whatever reasons, I felt I was going to be in this party, which is much smaller that time. Okay. Be that as it may, there are always these trends. You know, right now, Kalonzo is of the opinion that he's going to get the mountain, which is still ethnic, by the way. It's still tribal, what you call calibrations. Okay. And assuming that the Gema will add, at the end of it will be Akamba, Gikuyu, Mbumero, Akamba, and the rest of it. Whatever it is, everybody has a right to dream his own way. Everybody has a right to look at his own future, political future, and how to validate it in the manner that he wants. Okay. Here we are. Or she wants. But what I'm trying to say is that to try and say this crap which is out there. Honorable Farah Maalim, let us have some balance with the language. I was never chased out of a hotel. Yes. You know, these people are the social media is so full of crap and lies. I don't lie, let me tell you one thing. Because I have a faith and I have the courage to say what I believe in myself. And I've said that all my life. I was never chased out of a hotel. They even said that I was chased out of Garissa Golf Club. Have you ever heard of Somalis playing golf anywhere? The closest they get to golf is the sticks that they use to herd their cows and their camels. You understand my point? Yeah. There's nothing called Garissa Golf Club. I've never been chased out of Kempinski. I've never been chased out of Serena. I've never been chased out of any hotel, including White Sands. But you see that those people, a couple of them who have got, each one of them has got 500 accounts, and they put up this stuff out there and the rest of it. The Kenyans can only be liberated. This country can be liberated with the truth, not with the lies. Let us get to the truth, and of course we put a disclaimer of any form. Let's debate. Let's debate. Let's talk about Kenya, which is very, very important, and like you rightfully put it. Yeah. And I'm glad that you substantiate. You've been here long enough to have seen that perhaps there's no cause for alarm as it stands right now. There's absolutely no cause for alarm. Yeah. All the loans we have right now that are making life impossible for us were taken under the previous government. Okay. Kenya's IMF review has been added to the IMF board calendar. The meeting is set, that is for 30th of October. And of course, 7th reviews under the Extended Fund Facility and Extended Credit Facility, and 2nd review under the Resilience and Sustainability Facility arrangement that Kenya is expecting to receive about 113 billion shillings from IMF. If we're going to have this kind of conversations, don't you get worried that perhaps we're going to expand? Yeah. No, let me tell you one thing. You see the difference between loans from those multilaterals, the IMF and the World Bank, and loans from commercial banks, right? Chinese, Eurobond, and all those commercial banks. There are no kickbacks, there are no commissions on the bilateral, what do you call loans, or multilateral loans. When you're getting a loan from a government, straight government, there are no kickbacks. When you're getting it from the multilaterals in the name of IMF and World Bank, there are no kickbacks. African Development Bank, all those ones, nobody's going to pay you any what do you call 10% or 20% or whatever it is. Right. But when you go to Eurobond, who knows where the money for Eurobond went? largely to the pockets of people.
Okay.
And nobody is willing to follow it. Let me tell you one thing. You see that multiple standards. I was in this country myself. And what this government is doing right now is to borrow money from IMF and World Bank to retire some of those very, debilitating, very heavy burdens of the old commercial loans that were taken, that are going for as much as 8%, 9% interest. But these ones which we are taking right now are going for 0.75 plus label, which is very, very small.
Right.
And with a moratorium of, let's say, 6 years, you understand my point. And it gives us a breathing space, and there's hardly any interest on it.
This government has promised
So the idea is, let me tell you, if you want to deal with corruption, if you want to deal with people lining up their own pockets, go back and find out where that money went. I don't know if you remember when the Auditor General wanted to follow the money trail of the Eurobond.
Yes.
And he was scolded and admonished by none other than our head of state that time.
Honorable Farah,
did we follow that to the logical conclusion?
We probably did not. Is this current government doing it? Is the current government doing that?
Well, if it's doing, it's going to be called witch hunt. You understand my point?
Okay.
It's going to be called
witch hunt. So it should not?
Well, I think it should. Everything should be, no stone should be left unturned. And everything should be followed to its logical conclusion. But I'm telling you, I'm not holding a brief for this government. Okay. I'm just talking as an independent person who was neither in the old government nor in this government right now. But I'm just trying to tell you the areas where things are going fine and the areas where things went bad for a very long time.
Okay.
Linda, I am about 70. I was here in this country as a professional as a young man going through college when Jomo Kenyatta died. And for the longest, at least 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, the story was that Moi is a passing cloud. He's a passing cloud.
And then he came on board and 24 years down.
He came on board because, and got literally largely secured because there was a coup attempt, and then he managed to crash the coup for whatever it was, and then realized that he could go out now to the rest of the country. And that way, he got his life extended by the manner it was extended. You get my point?
Right.
So always, there has been a section of the society in the country that felt that there was a manifest entitlement, manifest destiny. You see what I mean?
Right.
Like, for example, right now, I do understand and I agree with the fact that majority of the people who voted for this government were from the mountain region. And presumption was, including the previous government, that this was going to be shared 50-50 between two communities. Now, when that changed, then of course there were these issues that, and all the stuff we're seeing right now has very little to do with the economy. It has very little to do with the finance bill as it was. It has everything to do with initially, you cannot bring Raila on board.
Okay.
You get my point?
All right.
You can't bring people who did not contribute to this victory on board. We basically have to sit out there and let's be, the banquet. The feasting banquet is for those people who put in their shares in there.
So is it that
you don't run a government
by design that this?
No, you don't run a government like that. It doesn't matter where you got the bulk of your support. I ran for elections myself, and I lost more than 30% of my voters out there. And I'm not going to go and isolate them and say, look, that location did not vote for me, that sub-location did not vote for me, that sub-district did not vote for me. No.
Are you telling us the broad-based government is a good idea?
Very good idea. Why was it a good idea for us to have, what do you call, he was there, the accord, the national accord, which essentially was there for power sharing. Yeah?
Right.
Yeah, the accord, you remember? Which we did, Kibaki and Raila.
Or you're talking about the Grand Coalition government?
The Grand Coalition government, yes. The accord was a piece of legislation, by the way, which only needed a simple majority for it to become an act of parliament.
I don't want to say reduced, but have we been reduced to a point where it has to always be a question of coalition?
Can I just finish what I'm saying?
All right.
The accord was there. We had a 50-50 power sharing. The nation was brought on board. I think those 5 years were some of the best 5 years we've had in this country for the longest. You get my point?
All right.
It was a national coalition. We had a prime minister, we had a president. Ideally, they were supposed to share power 50-50. But there was such a powerful decorum between themselves that Raila did allow to have, for Kibaki to become a first among equals. You see what I mean? A president and a prime minister. and the bulk of the country believed that he won that election. But we had stability, we had a solid, development in the country. I think those were some of the best 5 years this country has ever seen. So to bring in people who are in the opposition to the government, why not? Because you are dealing with a nation, you are not dealing with ethnic communities and regions and sections of the society and parties, no.
Then came the handshake. Do you suppose it was a good idea?
Very good idea.
Did it serve the purpose?
Very good
now
idea.
That then, so you make sure that you get
we had a lot of problems. You have to understand, this election, like the previous elections, the ones of 2013 and the one of 2007 and the one of 2013, 2007, sorry, 2013, 2017, 2022 was also a razor thin margin. You get my point?
200.
It was too close to call.
Yes.
Too close to call.
Yeah.
And in the previous ones before that, everybody believed that there was a rigging. That's why they would not even open up the servers and the rest of them, yes. But what happened? There was a handshake. Why would a handshake be such a beautiful thing if it is between Raila and Kibaki? You get my point?
Right.
Why would it be such a beautiful thing if it's between Raila and Uhuru? And it would suddenly becomes a pact with the devil when it's between Ruto and Raila. Just ask yourself that question.
Shouldn't it be a handshake? Shouldn't it be a broad-based government that ensures that even the ones that feel like they're being shortchanged then are well incorporated, their interests
I
are
agree with you entirely. I agree with you entirely. Tell me one area that you feel is now agitating because they were left out. If you're talking about the mountain has got close to 50% of the government. Yes, yeah, right now. Yeah? You get my point. At least more than 40%.
The appointments, the
cabinet ministers, the appointments, everything.
Okay.
For a population that's hardly, probably around a quarter of the national population, it's a fair deal in my opinion. You get my point.
Right.
But I think that's the best it can get, and everybody else has got to be accommodated. I did not vote for Ruto myself in the last elections. And can I tell you how many votes he got in my constituency? You'd be shocked. He got 508 votes, not even 1,000 votes in my constituency.
Okay.
And Raila got 23,000 votes. But now that he has won and he's the president and we're looking for stability and the way forward for the country, we just have to accept that this is a fait accompli for the time being, and we do the best we can for the country itself.
His deputy. Forget about the mountain, but look at his deputy.
Well, his deputy...
the embattled one, because now at this point we actually...
Well, he was the deputy, the former deputy. I mean, he's gone now. Can I tell you one thing?
You think he's gone, 100%?
He's gone.
Even with all these court battles?
He's gone. He's gone. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind he's gone. He should have been here himself. He's a lawyer also, and he would have told us. I think that's a debate for another day. And because the matter is in court.
It's in court, yes.
And it's sub judice. We cannot debate it now. It's not allowed in law.
Right.
But the reality of the matter is that there were too many things. I mean, the president was meeting members of parliament and literally pleading that he is not going to sign the finance bill.
Okay.
That he expects Kenyans to go through a conversation. And his deputy was in Mombasa. And the moment the president finished his own...
He spoke.
He also spoke.
Okay.
And castigated the president and his
the NIS, not the president.
The NIS is the president. NIS, the director general, is as good as the president.
Okay.
Castigated all the decisions and the style of management of public affairs of the president.
And that you did not see any form of truth in what he said?
I didn't see anything. I mean, I only saw ethnic politics there, period. And I can tell you that. You know,
direct attack too?
Direct attack into somebody who's a civil servant. This is the first time we have ever seen anybody attack a director of National Intelligence Service in the country. We had Kenyotu, we had Kivovani, we had Gishangi. You get my point? We had Kameru the last time. And we've never seen we had Boynet. You get my point? We had Boynet, we had all those ones. And we've never seen anybody, even those of us in the opposition, would hesitate to talk about somebody in the national security, National Intelligence Service, or talk about a member of the disciplined forces. We'll never talk about the generals. We'll never talk about the admiral. Basically, the admirals of the Navy, what do you call admirals we have. We never talk about them. You can't talk. Any country, those are sacrosanct areas, sanctified. You don't take politics there. Don't take politics there.
So this is his own undoing?
Seriously undoing. I mean, when you do something out of the tradition, not only our own tradition, but the global tradition, then of course, you can't blame anybody else for what happened. You see what I mean? In any case, let me tell you, there's only one president. And when you're a deputy president, you're there to be told what to do by the president.
What is this that is the
There is no parallel power and authority there. A deputy president, a vice president, is the most unenviable job. You only do what you're told to do.
By your boss.
Yes. And that goes for everybody. It goes for the Americans, it goes for the British, it goes for, because the British have got the deputy prime ministers. When you're a prime minister and you have a deputy prime minister, he just has to do what you tell him to do. The day he decides to disagree with his prime minister, then he goes and resigns. And in most cases, he invariably says, I'm resigning for health purposes, for family matters. You don't go and wash the dirty linen of your private club. Parties are private clubs, for information, let me tell you.
What do you suppose was the basis of this undoing? Why would he have decided to take
Well, I
that
think...
route? This is a gentleman that has been, in the corridors of power for...
Look, I don't want to talk about his character. I don't want to talk about his personality. Right. It's up there.
As we sum it up.
For everybody to know.
All right.
But I don't think... we had a serious problem. And then look at the numbers. He got 44 votes in the National Assembly. 281 votes voted against him. All the majority of the region where he came from voted against him. And you want to tell us that's the best man in the country now. You get my point?
All right.
What does it mean? It probably means that, look, he comes from a privileged background, comes from a privileged region, or privileged ethnic community that he can never make a mistake. Now that is wrong for a country. Let me tell you one thing. Don't try, nobody should make him. It's just like the Israelis right now. They can do whatever they want. Okay. They are the chosen people of the world. And essentially, whatever they do, people have to accept it. They can kill, they can maim, they can rob, they can rape, they can do all sorts of things. And basically, they're the chosen people of God. The rest are there to serve them. So when you behave in that manner, it's not good for a country like ours. Nobody's any more equal than the other.
Without focusing much on the persona of the former deputy president, or perhaps
I'm actually talking about generalities.
Yes.
Here. I'm not talking about his
yes. And he.
And I'm not talking about the merits and the demerits of
the
case. Yeah.
Right. He exits, but he reminds the parliament that there are better things, concerns, to address for the people of Kenya. He speaks of the Adani case.
There is nothing better and more urgent and more serious and more urgent than the presidency being set right. Let me tell you one thing. You get my point?
Right.
You don't have a president tomorrow in Nairobi, in Kenya, we don't have a country. If we have a deputy president, we swear him in straight away as a president.
Okay.
But we don't have that, we don't have a country. You become Somalia, you become Sudan, it becomes a civil war and everybody for himself, and this country goes.
But we do not have Honorable Moses Wetangula, perhaps enlighten the people of Kenya.
Well, I think what happens is that if anything happens to the president under the current constitution, automatically the deputy takes over. But if for whatever reason the deputy and the president are indisposed, then of course the speaker takes over for a given period of time and conducts elections. Which essentially is there.
Okay.
But God forbid. I mean, we pray that doesn't happen. It never happens also. But what we need more than anything else is stability, the unity, the sanctity of our country, the constitutional order, the respect for the constitution. This is a constitutional democracy. We went for elections. People won and people lost. We can't change that through the streets.
Right.
No, you can't. You can't change that through the streets. So basically, the way I'm seeing right now is accept your position in life. Look, I'm a member of parliament. My whole community might want me to look like a president. I can't go out there into parliament and say, I'm going to be the president tomorrow, because whatever it is, you know what I mean? And for whatever reasons, everybody has to listen to me. No, you can't do that. Now, masses should care about, one, the unity of the country, the integration, social integration of all the community, because of our diversity. We have had this. We came out of a colonial settler, system in here, where settlers were implanted in here, which is a special race, and basically the rest of us were supposed to be there as serfs. So for us to be able to delink and disabuse our minds from those ones, that whoever has the instruments of government is a king into himself and his community, and everybody else is there as a servant, that has got to go.
Yeah.
And that's why it's you know, people in Kenya would want to take the presidency at any cost, because they know the difference. Now that has got to go. Okay. That has got to go. We have to have, and we have to look at our constitution much more thoroughly, and see how it can be an all-inclusive thing. I think this pure presidential system has been a serious disservice to us.
I like that. First of all, Honorable Jeremiah Kioni acknowledges that you were instrumentally engaged in making sure that you accorded us the 2010 Constitution. We have senators who are speaking to the adjustments of, you know, the leadership, perhaps the executive, you'd want to call it. Samson Cherargei speaking to the adjustments of the term to longer periods, while Senator Kiruo Gathangwa as well is recommending that we do 4 years. What do you make of this?
Look, the issue is not the term, is not the length of the period. The issue is the system itself. Okay. How well is the presidential system, pure presidential system, serving us? I don't think it's serving us good. We need to go back to some kind of a hybrid parliamentary presidential system, yes.
Typically the BBI conversation? To
some extent, yes. We take all the good things about the BBI, which were there, we take them. But I think we need to have a president who is symbolic, just like India, like UK, the way the Queen is, and have a prime minister who is accountable to Kenyans on the floor of the parliament. Right. You see what I mean? Yeah. And we have the party system in here. That way you can change policies and have them amenable to the needs of the people. Right. But right now you have a president who is far divorced from you. You have the members of the cabinet who are not members of parliament. You see what I mean? Yeah. Because they're not members of parliament, they're technocrats out there. They have a serious deficiency in being able to translate these things into parliament, into a mass. It's a problem. It's a serious problem. So I think when you come from a constituency, then you know what every other constituency problems are having. So that's why ministers were always accountable to us on the floor of the House. Okay. And they always answered questions. Right now we have questions being answered by chairs of committees. Chairs of committees do not have the instruments of government in their hands. So they're basically giving you answers that were given to them from the executive out there. The executive is not accountable in any way. You see what I mean?
Right.
So we have a problem. We have a serious problem, and we need to go back to a system that essentially works.
Do you suppose we should not read much in the fact that the Honorable Kindiki Kithure did not appear to answer questions, of course, in relation to what is playing out in the interior docket?
Well, I don't know. You're talking about something that happened today?
Today, yes.
I haven't seen that.
You have not seen that?
What was asked, yeah.
All right. Of course, bringing in a bit of question as to why it was necessary for him not to show up. So this is what it says. Interior CS and current Deputy President Nominee Kithure Kindiki skips Wednesday Senate questioning session and requests rescheduling to a future date.
Which is
proper. Shouldn't read much into it.
Let's not read too much into it.
Okay.
Because we've had many times cabinet ministers, the cabinet secretary is telling us, let me appear before the House or before the committees the next week or the week after, for one reason or the other. And we always acceded to that. So because there are obvious issues here, there'll be a new minister, if everything goes right and the way it is on schedule. He doesn't want to, for whatever reasons, I think we just have to give him the benefits of doubt.
All right.
And allow whoever is going to be in the docket, whether him or somebody else. If this thing gets prolonged, and then of course he will be the one who will come in there, because he's still the substantive minister for internal security, interior.
All right.
But if he asks us for more time, then that has happened to us many times, even in this parliament.
Okay. Honorable Farah Maalim, we're about to come to a close, but it's important as well we hear what the people of Kenya have to say. Allow us to take a quick short break, and then we come back and look at some of the comments as well as your parting shots, and then we come to a close.